You wake up. Your phone says 3 p.m. That's strange. You're supposed to be at work. You rush outside. The sun feels wrong, too high in the sky. You run to the train station. The giant clock above the platform reads 3:17 p.m. 17 minutes ahead. Your phone refreshes. Now it says 2:52 p.m. A notification pops up. Meeting starts at 4 p.m. sharp. Don't be late. But 4 p.m. Where? You call your friend. What time is it? They pause. 2:43. You look back at the station clock. It just ticked to 3:18. Across the street, a news broadcast plays on a shop window screen. The president will address the nation tonight at 8 p.m. local time. Local to who? The train pulls in. The digital sign flickers. Arrival. 3:05 p.m. But it's already past 3. Or is it? What if I told you there was a world where every city kept its own time, and no one ever agreed to fix it? What if time zones were never standardized? It sounds ridiculous, but for most of human history, that's exactly how time worked. Every town set its clocks by the sun. When the sun was directly overhead, it was noon. Simple, natural, almost poetic, unless you lived 20 miles away. Because when it was noon in your town, it might be 12:07 in the next one, or 11:53, or 12:12 if their clockmaker had strong opinions. And no one thought this was a problem. Why would they? People didn't move very fast. If you were late, you were just late. Blame the horse. Blame the weather. Blame the sun. The sun wasn't going to file a complaint. But then, the world got impatient. Railroads began slicing across continents. Suddenly, cities weren't days apart. They were hours apart. And that's when the cracks began to show. Imagine trying to run a train schedule when every station exists in its own tiny universe of time. One city says it's 2 p.m. The next says 2:11. Another says 1:58. Now try preventing two trains from using the same track at the same time. By the 1800s, the United States alone had over 300 local times, 300 versions of now, and for the first time in history, that wasn't charming, it was dangerous. October 1891, two trains, same track, opposite directions. Both engineers check their pocket watches. Both are confident. Plenty of time. One station clock says 4:03 p.m. The next town says 3:56. 7 minutes. 7 invisible minutes. On a single track line. 7 minutes is everything. The collision kills dozens. In our timeline, disasters like this forced railroad companies to do something radical. They standardized time. They divided countries into zones. They agreed that noon would mean the same thing everywhere. But not in this world. In this world, the debate turns political. Some cities refuse. Why should we follow their time? Local leaders argue that solar time is natural, authentic, traditional. Newspapers call standard time industrial tyranny. Farmers protest. Clockmakers protest louder. Even churches object. God set the sun, not the railroads. So the rail companies try to impose their own system, private time, railway time. But towns ignore it, governments won't enforce it, and suddenly every train timetable prints 2 columns, local time, rail time, and sometimes neither matches. Passengers miss departures standing right in front of the train. Conductors argue with station masters. Insurance rates skyrocket. And slowly, quietly, trust begins to erode. Because time used to be something you looked at. Now it's something you argue about. And that's the moment history breaks. Because instead of agreeing on one shared clock, the world chooses fragmentation. And once time fractures, everything else follows. For a while, the world adapts. People carry conversion charts. Businesses print triple timestamps. Local, rail, international. It's annoying. Complicated, but manageable, until the digital age arrives. Because computers don't tolerate ambiguity. They don't estimate. They don't squint at the sun. They demand precision, down to the millisecond. And in this world, there is no universal clock, no Greenwich, no coordinated universal time. Just billions of devices, guessing A bank transfer in New York completes before it was sent in Chicago. An email arrives yesterday. A stock trade executes after hours, except no one agrees when hours end. Air traffic control logs show planes landing. Before takeoff, engineers argue over timestamps. Lawyers argue harder. Satellites drift out of sync because GPS doesn't just need maps, it needs atomic-level timing. Nanoseconds, without a shared reference, navigation begins to wobble. Your map says turn left. The road is on the right. Ships miscalculate positions. Cargo routes collide. Hospitals struggle. Medication dosages depend on precise intervals. Every 6 hours becomes, which 6 hours? In pandemics, infection data arrives out of order. Models fail. Governments react too late or too early, or both. Stock markets open at different 9:30 a.m.s. Global live streams desync. International meetings begin in empty rooms. Launch windows for rockets close mid-countdown because another country's clock disagrees. And slowly, it becomes clear. Modern civilization isn't built on steel, or electricity, or even the internet. It's built on synchronized agreement, on a shared now. And without that shared now, reality starts to splinter, not with an explosion, but with misalignment. Tiny inconsistencies stacking layer by layer. Until the world doesn't crash, it drifts apart. Humans don't tolerate chaos for long. If time won't standardize naturally, it will standardize economically. At first, tech companies offer a solution. They call it Sync Time, an app that constantly negotiates between regional clocks. It predicts discrepancies, auto-adjusts your calendar, translates timestamps in real time. People love it, until they realize something. Sync Time isn't syncing to a global standard. It's syncing to whoever has the most influence. Financial hubs start dictating reference time. New York's clock becomes dominant in trade. Tokyo controls shipping time. Frankfurt dominates banking hours. And smaller nations? They're forced to adapt. Because if your country's clock drifts too far, you lose access to markets, your trades get delayed, your contracts become misaligned. And suddenly, time isn't physics anymore, it's leverage. Entire regions begin adjusting their official clocks, not to the sun, not to science, but to economic power. A new phrase enters everyday language. What market time are you on? Your watch becomes a declaration, your time zone becomes a loyalty, and children grow up learning two things: local time and global influence time. In a world without standardized time, we didn't eliminate control, we monetized it. At first, people joke about it. Sorry, I'm late. Which timeline are you on? But something subtle begins to change. When time stops being shared, experience stops being shared. You can't say, "Did you see that at 9 p.m.?" Because 9 p.m. isn't universal. Live events feel less live. Birthdays drift, anniversaries shift. Midnight doesn't feel like a collective reset. It feels private, isolated. Travel becomes disorienting, not because you're tired, but because reality feels negotiable. You land in another city and your phone asks, "Which now would you like to use?" People begin to mistrust timestamps. Videos are questioned. Alibis fall apart. Contracts blur. History becomes harder to sequence. And slowly, a deeper anxiety settles in because time isn't just a measurement. It's coordination. It's agreement. It's the invisible thread tying billions of lives into a single shared moment. And when that thread frays, we don't just lose punctuality, we lose synchronicity. We lose the feeling that we're moving forward, together. If we can't agree on what time it is, what else stops being real? In our world, this almost happened. In 1884, 25 nations met in Washington, D.C. They agreed to divide the world into time zones. They chose a prime meridian. They synchronized humanity, not perfectly, but enough. And because of that agreement, planes land safely. Markets open together. Satellites guide you home. And when it strikes midnight, billions of people step into tomorrow in sequence, together. But here's the uncomfortable part. Time isn't natural. Seconds are arbitrary. Time zones are political lines. now only works because we agree that it does. And agreement is fragile. So imagine this: a future where global cooperation weakens, where digital systems fragment, where nations stop syncing, not because they can't, but because they won't. What happens when the world decides to stop agreeing? Would we even notice at first? Or would it begin the same way it always does, 7 minutes apart? If this world unsettled you, tell me in the comments, what would break first? The internet, the economy, trust, or something deeper? And if you had to live in a world without standardized time, how would you adapt? Because the most invisible systems are usually the ones holding everything together.